So I know that you were adopted, but like, you know, you being Asian and surrounded by white people, it's like, I feel like that might, I don't know, cause some sort of identity, like that might jumpstart the journey to trying to understand how you are and what it means to be of a different race. Even though it's superficial, like it still factors back into ourselves, right? Like how we perceive ourselves and how we interact with the world.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. Because it's so funny because knowing you two now, I would never think of the past that you both had, just like initial meeting you. But that's why I find you two so interesting, because you're so much more experienced, I think, life experience wise than I think most people I know, in terms of like going downhill and coming back up again. Because I relate to both of that. Because I know when I grew up, I did have white parents, but my biggest thing is everyone would look at me and be like, how come you don't look like your parents? I'd be like, I don't know. And then if I saw an Asian woman, I'm like, are you my mom? Like I would just be like, I don't know.
Can I be your mom?
What the hell is happening? So I just would ask questions, but then I got self-conscious because I wouldn't know the answer to like why I'm adopted, who are my parents, where am I from really, and how come I don't have any baby pictures of me? So part of me is like, am I real? Like,
yes.
I was like always like, what is happening? But then that fueled, I think, my own personal growth, because I'd ask those really intense questions. And then I try to make friends with people and have those conversations. But then if I couldn't, I'd be like, I'm just so different that maybe I'm not supposed to be friends with them or something. Mm. But I lived in California and had a ton of Asian friends. So I didn't really struggle with that until 7th grade, when I moved to the Midwest in a suburb of Chicago, because there was only a handful of Asian people in my class. But then that's when I kind of felt more alienated, because I didn't have anyone really relate to in that way. But when I was little, I always felt weird around Asian people. And I was like, why do I feel weird? Is it because of my adopted parents not being Asian, or is it something else? Because it didn't feel like a race thing. It just felt something weird. And I felt so uncomfortable where I wasn't even attracted to Asian women. I wouldn't really see them as something that like is a cultural thing that I needed to join or learn more. I just felt like kind of judgmental about it. And then that raised a ton of other questions, because my past similar to you guys, but almost the opposite, where it's like I had a sibling that had issues, and and the whole time I felt helpless. And I was very like straight edge. I wasn't really straight edge, but just not into anything that I knew would like kind of affect me negatively, because I experienced depression. I was like, I can't do that again. But because I was helpless, I was like, well, in order to maybe understand and how to help my family and my brother, I should try things. Like I kind of had that like martyr kind of outlook on life, where it's like, how can I connect to someone, really understand them? Because I was like split from my family. I was like the only one being like, he's not an addict, he's your son. He's my brother, you know? Yeah. And so I'd have very emotional moments where I'd have to like share that stuff with my family. That definitely brought us together and kind of like made me realize how much our egos like push people away when you really need to like get closer. Yeah. And that made me learn so much about myself, and started to like experiment in high school, where I'd wear like alternative rock and Ricky Martin Hot Topic outfits to just be like, oh, this is getting me attention. But I'm also like, this isn't me, but is it me? I just remember one day I was like wearing pleather pants and like a see-through tight ass, like,
I love it,
like Ricky Martin alternative rock t-shirt. My dad's like, you're going to school like that? I'm like, yeah, I am. And he just looked at me. He's like, good for you, you know? And then I would just have little experiences where it's like, I knew I wasn't Asian. I knew I wasn't white. I knew I was an addict, or I was like nothing in a while. Like I felt really empty. But then now I look back at it, it's kind of like I was like a lot more conscious than I realized, because I was like, I'm nothing. I'm just whatever. Yeah. And then the one thing though, I'm always so kind of like influenced by my past because I don't know a lot. I don't know my real parents. Even like not having baby photos and stuff like that kind of like freaks me out. But I had a dream once when I was little, and I still have sometimes reoccurring dreams where it's like me and my brother, or I think it's my brother, at this well, and it's like and it's all snow, and there's like light snow falling, and we're by a well, and I think it's like a wishing well because I'm like throwing coins in there and wishing. And then I had this experience where I met a spiritual teacher. I was really like intrigued, and I was like, I got to go. It was my first ever spiritual event or meetup. And I had a list of questions because I was like, maybe she can answer it because she's answering some things I've never even thought of. And then I had a little private session with her, and I asked her, I was like, why am I adopted? Why am I Korean? And she said that you're Korean because in your past life you judged Koreans. And something clicked to me where I was like, that makes so much sense. Because I felt weird around Asian people and couldn't connect, but I also felt really judgy. And then something like that. So when I heard that, I really took it to heart, and it kind of like changed a lot of things for me to like accept more of that culture and find out more about myself in that way. And then I also did a practice where it's like, when you have a dream, I never think that you can like see anything else in that dream. But then I got into meditation and I saw that same visual of that dream, and then told myself to like look around and see things. And then I remember when I looked, I saw 2 graves, like on the ground, just like dirt that looked like a grave. No real headstone, but like some kind of marker. And then on the other side was this big building that looked like maybe like where I was growing up, like in a orphanage or something like that. And then like this all happened within like a few years, so like it just like skyrocketed me. And then I remember my aunt coming to visit me one day, and she was like, do you remember the first thing you told us when you learned English, or like when you could speak to us? I was like, no idea. And she's like, oh, I asked you like, what's the first thing you did before you came here? And I said, bury my grandparents. And so like this flashback came in like instantly, like in a movie, where I saw the graves where I was living and that wall again, but it was like real and happening in real time. And then I was like, then I like had to walk away because I was like, I don't know what's happening. I was probably like 9 or 10, So like all these unknowns that kind of like forced me to be into this path, or like be really, I guess, more into it in a deeper level. And just having like these really deep questions for everything is like what fuels kind of my work or life and relationships and like career. So that's why I find like me connecting you guys so interesting, because it's like, I still know what it's like, what you went through, but like in a different level, I feel like.
A different perspective.
Because we both had like, maybe not, and it's not like my parents weren't there. It's more like I wanted to learn things without, like I had so much freedom where I could have done the things you did, but I didn't. But then my brother did, and I saw the consequences of that. So I was the one trying to understand it without also becoming that.
Yeah.
So like, because of that, but then now, because I'm an artist, I'm like, I want to experiment now.
Yeah.
I want to like try these things, but I also don't do it at a level of, I know where I was at, where I was like depressed, very insecure, and didn't really know who I was. So now it's much more fun and seeing it more as like experiences rather than like I'm losing consciousness while I'm doing it or something like that. But I also think it's like such a huge feat to overcome those things. You have to be super strong to do that.
I do feel like, yeah.
It's like not an easy thing.
I didn't know. I feel like I knew more of your life. Didn't know as much of your life, Billy. But I do feel like it is like these like soul predicaments that we come into so that we can get to the level of consciousness like that we're at. And like, as much as like, I wish I had like, like the straight lace, like I wanted to be on a regular path so bad. When I dropped out of college, I was like, I just want to be like a little Southern girl who just like has a boyfriend and goes to college and then gets married and whatever. And like, it was so devastating for me at one time that I wasn't living that life. But now I'm like, okay, I kind of have more understanding because of all the things that I've learned about myself and about the world and about like kind of transcending myself, that, yeah, I feel like it was like, yeah, just you asking that lady of like, why am I Korean? Like, and those like further reaching questions of like, why is my soul in this particular incarnation right now? Like, and it is soothing in a way. Yeah.
Do you look back though and realize like how strong you are now after dealing with all that and like being on the other side? Or do you kind of look back and see it differently?
No, I definitely like, yeah, I see the strength in it. And also like, I'm kind of glad that I was like reckless. Like, it was fun. It was get it out of my system, you know?
That's
like,
exactly how I feel about it.
It was like, I learned so much about the world and myself, and I'm glad that I wasn't. I think my parents tried to shelter me, but I was just like bust through. Like, yeah,
easier for you to rebel and everything.
So yeah, I definitely don't regret it. I think I have like shame about like some of my behaviors sometimes, but it's like it's not regret, if that makes sense. Yeah.
It's like more like cringe.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I'm like,
yeah. Tell me your cringiest story.
It's not funny. It's like just bad. To be honest, my cringiest times were like I would black out and I would just make out or have sex with somebody that was like
there.
Just whoever was there, probably the ugliest guy at the bar. Like, and just like I have a hard time thinking back on those memories. And I was mean to people. I was mean to my friends. I was so mean when I was blackout. Like, and I have shame about that now too. Cause I'm like, that's not me, but it's like, but it was, I was doing it. Like, yeah, but mostly, yeah, I would say the blackout sex shame trumps it all because they are so cringy, but not in a funny way.
Dude, I so relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I never got blacked out drunk. Like that's not really a thing for me. It's like when I used to get really drunk, I would just fall asleep. You know what I mean? But like I definitely dated a person in high school that I'm like, oh, fucking Christ. Like I touched that person. They touched me. Ugh. Like,
that hurts me.
Yeah, it like cuts to my bone. Like the regret. Cause it's like, it wasn't so much about the person's appearance, although like, I don't understand how I was attracted to them, but it was like their essence, like their values. I don't respect so much that I'm like, how did I allow this person to be in my life for so long and like get influenced by them for so long? But yeah, that slippery slope feeling is still present. I'm still trying to work through like control and self-protection, looking out for the people that I care about, not letting this like devious, deceptive asshole out. It's like I used to be a huge dick. I was so mean. Yeah, Billy, you always say that like I'm not the type of person that like is mean, and you always like try to get me to like be a dick more. But dude, I don't know.
I just try to get you to like, if you're upset, like speak your mind. Cause I don't think either way, no matter like who you are now, even if you had a problem with someone, I don't ever see you being so confrontational or so mean. Like, cause you know what that's like probably.
Yeah. No, like I wholeheartedly appreciate that support. I don't think I have an issue with being like assertive, like of my boundaries or like whatever the hell I think. Like I'm okay with people disagreeing with me or disagreeing with other people. I am afraid of like letting some unbridled rage out because like that's a slippery slope for me. Like a recovering asshole is essentially like my situation.
Yeah. That's so funny to me because I know like you two don't seem like that ever.
I appreciate that. I've fucking been working on it.
And it's just funny because it's literally like, I feel like you guys are a mirror to me in a weird way because I had the opposite growing up. I was like, everyone's mean. Like, why can't people be nice? You know, and I wouldn't even date anyone because all my friends were like in a circle and they would just date each other. I was like, this is gross.
Yeah,
like I would just be like, a part of that. Cause I'm like, there's not love there. People just doing it because they don't want to be alone and stuff like that. Like I just had that outlook on things. So I wouldn't really put myself in situations to be really, really close to someone unless I felt like that pull from them. But my biggest thing wasn't really substances or addictions. It was more like I had this feeling when I moved to Naperville in Chicago or in Illinois, where I saw this girl. I felt like that love at first sight. Like I can't even explain it. It's just like butterflies, but also like my heart sunk and grew, and I couldn't move, and I was just staring at her. And that we like made eye contact for like a half a second, and that happened to me. And I was like, what the hell is that? Like, am I supposed to be with her or not? And so at that time I got depressed because I was like, I wasn't strong enough to say something to her. Cause I was like, how do I explain this feeling that just happened looking at you? And then I spiraled, got severely depressed, and all these things happened to like lead up to me being suicidal. Cause I just was like, I can't force someone to like me. But I had this feeling, but then, I had like pretty much like almost like my childhood should probably be like a high school rom-com, because then I like got severely depressed, suicidal. A friend came over, was like, noticed that I was in that place. She's like, if you ever want to write something to me or whatever. So one night I remember just like laying it all out, because that's how I kind of like dealt with that feeling and my psychological state. And I didn't say anything literally like I'm suicidal, but like it probably gave that impression.
Right.
So then I got pulled out of school, out of a class. I thought I was in trouble. I saw my dad in the principal's office. He had the note, and he's like, and that's when everything hit me, where it's like, I need to be more in control of my life, or I need to be more assertive, or just more like conscious, basically. Because then when I went to, it's not really rehab, but it's like a safe place to go if like someone in high school or teenager is suicidal. But then I went there and realized like we all had to, sit in a circle and share and everything. And what I shared was about like, oh, a girl doesn't like me. And then I scraped my face at a bottom pool like the day before senior year, so I looked fucked up. And then all these like other small things that just made me super sad, and insecure. And then I heard all these other kids' stories where like they've been raped by their dad, they've been like abused by their family, and now they like have sex with anyone and all this stuff. And I was like, what am I doing here? Like, how did I get here? And that really then gave me the perspective like I'm never going to be in that place again. And then that's when everything changed for me. And then I kind of realized that like all these deeper questions I had, that I would look for a teacher or someone to tell me. It's like, I just need to like live my life to learn it, rather than like indulge in the thoughts and just spiral. And so for me, it's like, I had the opposite, where I was mean, but I was like so insecure and shy. I wasn't like living at all. And then that made me kind of experiment in college, but like not to an extent where it was like my brother becoming a heroin addict, because I saw the downside to both of those things. But I definitely did have a very unconscious college experience. I'm kind of like surprised how I graduated and completed all the work that I did. But I must be like, but I always say it's like an Asian thing. We're like productive even though we don't want to be productive.
Yeah.
Like we still have to be for some reason. It's like ingrained in us. But then I also know that I think all that, now I look back, is like helping me become and do the career that I really want to do without feeling like I have to be successful at a certain age or something like that. Like it's kind of like forced me to see things more from like, I guess I always say like the heart rather than the head, because I like know the hell that you live in when you're in your head.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like for you too, I know, I always think that like women have a darker and deeper version of that. I don't know why. I just think like women are able to embrace pain more than men. Do you think like that's true?
Yeah, because we bear children.
Exactly.
We are. It's built
you can like
in,
create life.
A little bit, yeah. But I do want to validate when you were like, oh, I'm just sad because a girl doesn't like me, and like I scrape my face. When you are a teenager, that shit feels so real.
It does.
So deep. And
totally.
like, yeah, it is. It's just like the world that we create in our minds, like can get so, it could be from anything and like can feel so real. Like,
yeah. I mean, that was like a reality check for you to be in the group and hear the extent of fucked up stuff that happens in the world. But like simultaneously, like suffering is pretty relative. And it's also, I don't know, like for me, it's like, when I experience something that needs some attention, right? Like if I'm going through it, I notice that I tend to project whatever it is internally onto like anything and everything that could even be remotely related to it in my external. It's like I start interpreting every external thing as like a reflection of whatever fucked up shit is going on inside of me. So I feel like that might be part of it. It's like there's some deeper issue, and these are just the situations where it could be projected on.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I always am trying to understand why I went through those things. Cause I'm just like, it's just the curiosity thing. And even though I know I like created it, but a part of you is like, why is my soul wanting to learn from this stuff? And yeah, like I just always have those questions. So I feel like I attract people that somehow know the answers to it, because I'm like deeply wanting to know them. And I know that I do believe that past lives affect this life. And I'm always like intrigued by that, because I love the creative concept of that for like making films or like trying to think of creative art that's inspired by that. So I feel like I had those experiences, and then I found people to able answer, like, why did I, a lot of me also like has a weird thing with most men. Like I don't trust guys.
That's
like,
so interesting.
Just how they behave and treat maybe women. I just like kind of have a judgment that stems from my childhood. And I was like, why is that? Because I don't want to do that. I want to have guy friends and like have a really good support system with guys. And even my dad, he was very, like, we were pretty close, but we always argued about the stupidest shit. And so I asked a couple people that were able to answer that for me. And it all stemmed from past lives, because I also read that like any thought you have that's a judgment or any kind of critique, it's from a past life. Like, so I used to have these judgments about other guys. And so my past life, it's someone told me, like, this is all hypothetical to me, like you can't prove anything, but the feeling I get from it is what resonates. So they said that my past lives before this one, I was in during the Holocaust, and I was like a little boy in a concentration camp, and I got like raped by guys, like to the point where like I had no life force and I just wanted to die. And so like when I heard that, I was like, why the hell would I want that? Like a lot of parties like, what is wrong with me to want these experiences? But also like, oh, maybe that's why I don't trust guys, because they secretly would want to do something horrible to me. But then another one was, so that kind of like made me realize that like all of that maybe stems from something past I just need to let go of in that way, rather than think it's so literal that was like what happened to me and all this stuff. So like I like discovering things like that, because I don't know, it's like almost the multidimensional way you learn about yourself is so fascinating to me. It makes me feel like, oh, I'm more than what I think I am.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So
you definitely are.
that for some reason that also always influenced me, like thinking whatever problem I have is because of something that I don't know about myself yet. But again, not a lot of people want to know if it's from a past life. So I'm like, how do I relate or talk to people about this? Yeah. But, and then the one after that, I was like a hippie during like the 70s and overdosed and died from I think like a lot of drugs. So I feel like that is influencing my life now because my brother experienced that. Because I also think that like everything that you experience is helping you heal something from your past or even this life. And I think that was to help me not go down that path, but also be like the reason that happens, because you need more love and you need more of that like nurturing, supportive kind of family system. So like all that stuff has taught me so much, just trying to think like deeper and be more open to things. But I know not a lot of people think that way too. So I think everyone's way of healing is going to be unique to whatever you believe in and are open to.